You know that video of Michael Jackson being like, he had to do like a tour promo thing.
It's like, I love to tour.
It's so funny.
And it was so obvious, like he was being
so
extremely
obvious.
sarcastic. Like he was like, I love touring.
Because the first couple of times he was like, I don't like to tour. And they were like, Michael, you're selling a tour.
Like,
you got to sell
I love
it.
to tour with the straightest face possible.
I love to tour. And they all started laughing.
That video is so funny. Oh my God.
I really don't like it. But you gotta sell it. I love to tour.
Now, before we get into this interview, I want to give a little context here. I first discovered Ravyn Lenae when her song Sticky randomly popped up on my Spotify shuffle, and it only took me one listen before I was hooked. There was just something about her voice that left me wanting more every single time. Spin around and around, sticky off the ground. Fun fact, when I actually made up my mind last year that I was gonna start doing artist interviews, I made a whole wish list of artists that I wanted to have a conversation with. Emphasis on wish list because I had zero clue how I was gonna accomplish this, but Ravyn Lenae was one of the names on that list, and I'm just grateful that we got to do this.
Hi Ravyn, how you doing today?
I'm good, how are you?
Right. I'm good, honestly. How are you feeling, just in general?
I'm feeling good. The sun's out in New York.
It's a good day
the summers are really beautiful here, so it's been a nice change. It's been so gloomy in LA.
Honestly, I haven't been in LA. I've been in Toronto.
Okay.
But it's been raining.
Oh, has it?
All week.
It's been like that in LA, so it's nice to get some sunshine.
I agree. So, yeah, you are one of my favorite artists,
Thank
hands
you.
down. I've been following your journey for a long time. I think maybe Sticky was the first song that I heard.
Yeah.
But you're someone that has been making music for a very long time for someone your age. I just want to ask, like, if you could reflect on your entire career, how much would you say right now you've grown as a person, as an artist? Which areas would you say you've seen the most growth?
Yeah, it's so funny because I feel like with my new album, it's been about that. It's been about me retracing my steps and reliving certain moments that were defining for me, or I identify as like maybe some hard spots, some tough spots that I kind of worked through that have kind of made me, who I am today. So a lot of this process and journey has been reflecting. So I love that question because I feel like I've grown in a lot of ways, not even just music. Personally, I feel I've been finding my voice, finding my footing in love, in being a woman, all of those things. So I think that goes hand in hand with me kind of cementing myself and anchoring myself in my musical identity. And that's always shifting and waving and weaving, but realizing what that constant is for me and sticking to it has been something that's been meaningful for me in the music.
I see, that's a beautiful answer. When you mentioned that actually just brought me to the topic of the album name that's coming out, Bird's Eye. When I hear Bird's Eye, I kind of think of perspective. Really, and I just wanted you to shed a little bit more light on that before the album's out. I know when the album's out, we'll know a little bit more.
Right.
But yeah, I love that name.
Yeah.
What was that about?
You. Honestly, I think approaching 25, turning 25, I had a lot of these revelations where I kind of acknowledged my life and viewed my life from a much broader perspective, and really figuring out what pivotal moments have happened in my childhood, in my teenage years, in my adulthood that have made me me. So even going back to Chicago, where I'm from, spending time there, a lot of the imagery takes place there at my grandma's house, in the basement.
I see.
And I had so much fun with the cover art for the album, and I think it represents, the meaning, the thesis of it so well. But my grandmother's basement is where I dyed my hair red for the first time.
And you kept that color.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. So revisiting the basement, revisiting the sink where I rinsed my hair kind of symbolizes this acknowledgement of identity and feeling anchored in it.
One question I've always wanted to ask you, because I feel like you occupy a very unique space, especially as a Black woman.
Yeah.
Like in the music that you make. What made you want to become an artist? Especially because it seems like you had that conviction from such an early age.
Yeah.
Like, what was that point where you were like, okay, this is what I want to do?
I literally woke up with the question in my head. I don't know what I dreamt about last night, but I woke up thinking, are artists made, or is that something you're born with? I thought about that this morning, and I was like, I feel like that's something that you're honestly born with, and there's this desire to want to shift culture, shift perspective in interesting ways, you know, that speaks to people, that moves people, you know, beyond yourself. So I think having that desire early on and knowing that I felt alive and comfortable and free on stage and performing and being involved in the arts in some capacity was like a no-brainer for me. So it's the thing that gets me up in the morning. It's the thing I think about all day until I close my eyes. So I think when you feel fiery about something like that, then you should follow it. Yeah.
That's a really, really good answer.
Yeah.
To be honest, I feel like so many great artists have said that same thing, that they feel the most alive when they're on stage.
Yeah.
So to hear you say that, that kind of just like confirms that perspective. That's pretty cool.
We gotta get. Oh, Selena. Oh, that's taste.
Yeah.
That's taste. That's good taste. Okay. That's taste. I like that. Okay. So just simple. Like, if you could describe Ravyn in one word, what would that be? Don't overthink it. You got it.
Otherworldly.
I think that's a good one.
If that makes sense.
I think that's a good one. I think that's a good one. I would describe her as otherworldly too. Do you have any word you want to describe Ravyn with? In just one word.
Unique.
That's a good one. See, she didn't have to overthink it, but that was a good one.
I would just like to pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah.
Being an artist for so long and having the conviction that you do, what would you say has been the biggest challenge for you artistically, like generally? Yeah.
I think the main thing that's a little tough to navigate, especially coming into the industry so young, like I was like 15, 16, is being able to figure out who you are in front of an audience, in front of people who have strong opinions, who have their own agendas of what they want you to look like, what they want you to sound like, who they want you to be. So I think for me, there's been this return to like my adolescent self, you know, those first few years where you're trying everything and you don't feel embarrassed about it.
Finding your feet.
Yeah, finding your feet, trying on crazy clothes, trying different hairstyles. There's something so beautiful and innocent about like that era that I think is important to try to get back to the older you get. So I think the hardest part is navigating that and almost wearing all these clothes for so long just
Especially
to strip it down.
to do it in front of like an audience.
Yeah,
Because like you basically grow up like in the public's eye.
100%.
And that can be really difficult.
It can. So kind of returning to that space of doing what I feel and following, you know, impulse. Yeah.
And just to take it to the other side, what would you say has been the most rewarding aspect?
I think the most rewarding thing for me is always when I meet people and I get that FaceTime and that touch, and I see in real life how impactful music and my music is. So whenever I play shows and people know the lyrics, or whenever I get really sweet, thoughtful messages on Instagram, like those are the moments for me.
It must
where
be
I'm
like a surreal feeling.
Yeah, it's a validating thing of like, okay, like what I'm doing is important to someone, and like people feel something.
Yeah, because I feel like in this day and age, because we see numbers all the time, like it's really hard sometimes to put it in perspective. Because like I was always saying it, I remember going for Beyonce's Renaissance tour last year and like seeing the stadium full of I think 50,000 people.
Yeah.
And it just put things in perspective for me. Because like you see, like I would have a video on TikTok have 50K likes and it's just a number.
Right.
But when you see 50,000 people, it's like,
that's real people
whoa.
who spent their hard-earned money, who got on the bus, got on planes, you know? That's a real thing.
It is.
Yeah.
So one thing I would ask, following your creative vision in this day and age where music has kind of been reduced to 30-second sound bites on TikTok, Instagram Reels. Has that been a difficult thing for you to kind of be like, okay, I still want to do my thing, you know?
Yeah. I think for me, even though it wasn't even that long ago, but when I started putting out music, the social media landscape was completely different. Instagram, nobody really cared about it. Twitter, nobody really cared about it. It was really SoundCloud that people tuned into to find new music and to follow music. So now having to find my way and find my voice online has been like a really fun, but like interesting thing.
Interesting dynamic.
Yeah, only because like not only do we have to be really great at music, great at performing, good style, but we have to be like social media experts.
It's so much.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah,
it's a lot. But I'm finding my footing with it, and I know like there is something valuable about having an online presence and being able to connect with fans who, you know, are in Japan or, you know, that's the beautiful thing about it. So trying to use it in a way that feels natural to me and feels meaningful is something I'm figuring out.
I see.
Pardon?
I said no, not at all.
All right, so the question is very simple. If you could describe Ravyn in just one word, what would that be?
I think the word I would use is timeless. I think the juxtaposition of her voice, which is sounding like sort of like a throwback, like a Minnie Riperton, but the beats she's singing over are so like current and futuristic. I think it would be relevant 30 years ago and it'll be relevant 30 years from now. So
that's a beautiful answer. You took the words right out of my mouth. That's beautiful. Thank you so much. And I just want to ask you, if you could describe Ravyn in just one word, what would that be?
Ethereal.
How did you discover Ravyn's music? I'm curious.
I discovered it through Spotify, actually. I got recommended Computer Love, and that is with Steve Lacy. That's my favorite song by her.
And if you could pick one Ravyn song to describe where you are right now in life, what would that be?
MIA.
Do you ever create with the fans in your mind? Like when you're making a song, do you just make it straight from, this is just for me?
Yeah.
Or do you ever think, I think the fans will like this aspect of this song? How does that process go for you?
I think it depends on the song. And initially it does start with me and like my level of enjoyment with it and if I'm inspired by it. And then I start to think, ooh, I know this part is gonna go at the shows, or they're gonna sing it with me, or scream it at me at the shows, you know. So those moments are like really fun to think about.
So it's kind of a mix.
Yeah, it's a mix.
For you.
It's a mix. Yeah.
I see. So getting into your recent singles, Love Me Not, Love Is Blind.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
When I listened to Love Me Not, I was a little surprised because that was a sound that I've never really seen you tackle before. It was a little rock leaning.
Yeah.
What made you decide to go in that direction sonically?
I think it just felt good. It felt good. It still felt like me. It just felt like another flavor to add to like my box of seasonings. I feel
a big box of seasonings. You played around with so many different sounds. I was gonna ask you, like, what would you even categorize Ravyn's music as to someone that's never heard of? Like, if you had to tell them, this is what my music sounds like what would you say?
It's hard because I think I like to cross and blend and like break those barriers with like genres. But I would say it's definitely a mix of like it's rooted in R&B for sure. That's what I grew up listening to. I think there are some like funk elements to it, some soft rock elements to it, some pop.
There's some pop in there.
I don't know. I like to take our favorite things from like each genre and make it mine. That's like my favorite thing. I love blurring those lines. I love hearing songs where I can't put my finger on it.
Oh, what exactly?
Yeah, that's like my favorite thing. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I was listening to an interview. I don't know if I was reading that about you when you were talking about when you were creating your last album, Hypnose, which I'm obsessed with. I play that album all the time. But then you said when you were making that album, you were listening to a lot of Brandy.
Yeah.
If I remember that.
Yeah.
I remember that correctly.
Yeah.
So creating this new album, what was in your rotation? I'm curious.
That's a good question. For this one, Janet is always in my rotation.
Of course.
Always. No Doubt. Little Gwen Stefani. What else? Little Fleetwood Mac.
Okay, I see the rock.
Yeah.
In there. Okay.
I would say those were like the big
three.
Okay. And obviously like soul is always a part of my music. So yeah, I would say those were like the three I was, but definitely with Hypnose, Brandy down.
I could see the Brandy elements in that album. It was so good, and like it had that electro feel.
Yeah,
took me back to albums like Full Moon.
Full Moon, yeah, that was the reference.
So good. Yeah, we could tell, but you did it in your own way.
Yeah,
it's Ravyn's take on that. That was pretty. Love Me Not, Love Is
A
Blind.
lot of
love, like, and I don't know if. Maybe I was listening, maybe I'll have to go back and listen. They both came from, perspective of almost lost love.
Yeah.
And I feel like when artists write about love, it's something that's always it's something that's so different for me. Did those songs come from real life experiences? Or do you just write from, how did those songs come about?
So Love Is Blind is 100% from a real life experience, like a past relationship that I felt was necessary to address on the album. And I kind of address it in this really like bittersweet way. Yeah. That's like, I know like we weren't right for each other, but I'm loving who I'm becoming because this ended. So
kind of like you helped me become the person I am now.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really interesting perspective and an honest perspective to come from. Love Me Not is more like a general perspective of this kind of tug of war game of love and knowing that, knowing that somebody like might not be 100% in it, but there's something about them that like
just
keeps reeling you in.
Back. Yeah, I get it. And is that gonna be a theme we're gonna hear a lot on the album, love particularly?
I'm always singing about love, always writing about love. I think it like rules everything, but not just like romantic love. There's a song on the album about my father and our relationship and how we've been navigating that. There's also a song about loving life and acknowledging where I'm at in life and being proud of where I am, knowing that there are a lot of things I don't know and I'm going to make mistakes. I'm going to stumble, but I'm only 24, 25.
You're going to keep going.
Yeah.
You still have a long career ahead of you.
Exactly, yeah.
I want to go into your collaborations. Yeah. You've worked with so many amazing artists.
Yeah.
Steve Lacy.
My favorite artist.
Smino. Yeah. There's just so many talented artists that you've worked with.
Yeah.
What have you learned from working with this artist? Is there any particular lesson you learned from any collaborator that you've personally applied to your craft?
I learned something from everybody. I guess since you brought up Steve, I think the like most magical thing about his process and about him as an artist is that he strictly goes off instinct and impulse. He doesn't really question it in a way. Like even while he's producing a song, like when he does drums, he usually sticks with like the first snare sound that he finds or first couple. Like he doesn't overthink the process at all, which I thought was really interesting and really like freeing in a way. So I kind of like try to
emulate that,
adopt that. Yeah. Exactly.
That's amazing.
I think it's a hard thing to do.
As a creative, there's so much paralysis from analysis, I like to call it.
Yeah.
Because like you play it once, you're like, it could be better, tweak it again. Yep. It could be better, tweak it again.
And you're like, what? I don't remember what the intention was with this, So seeing him do that, I'm like, that is really interesting just to like there'll be times where he'll like tell me to go in the booth and just just say whatever's on your mind. I'm like, what's on my mind? Just freestyle, just talking shit. I'm just like, I'm trying. But I think like the older I'm getting, the more comfortable I'm getting the more confident I'm getting, the more I feel okay with just letting stuff fly. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's even something I want to apply to myself personally, because some things take too long because you're second guessing, and sometimes you go back and it was the first take.
It's the first thing.
Yeah.
It was the first thing.
Yeah, like I read this fact about Michael Jackson. I was speaking about him earlier, and the version of Billie Jean that made the album was like the third version.
The third mix. It was a mix.
Take. Yeah, third mix.
Yeah.
And like he done how many?
It was like 100 mixes.
100 mixes. And it's like you had to go back to the third. So
but sometimes you have to do all of that to come back, and
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
That's true.
But with
know that you've done everything possible.
Right. You're like, okay, I'll go with the third one.
Yeah. You were saying with Steve.
Yeah, but with Steve, it's just like him being so young and him kind of having that perspective and mentality with music. It was really inspiring for me. So I try to do that when I can. I overthink more than him though.
I mean, we're all different. Yeah. We all have very different creative processes.
Yeah.
And that leads me to my next question. When you're creating music, when you were crafting Bird's Eye, was your creative process more solitary by yourself, or is it very collaborative? How does that go for you?
This one was pretty collaborative. Dahi, who's my brother, he executive produced the album. So working closely with him, a friend of mine, Sarah Aarons, she co-wrote basically everything with me. I feel like this time I was able to really establish a synergy just between us, and then we're bringing in musicians. Spencer Stewart played on a lot of things too. So just really bonding and getting to know people, and that translating through music was something that was special for me this time. So yeah, but I've learned so much from Dahi.
I'm looking forward. When you say Dahi now, I'm really excited to hear this album. I'm so excited. Yeah,
I'm excited for you to hear it.
Yeah.
Questions for the fans here tonight. Okay, so if you could describe Ravyn in just one word, what would that be?
Phenomenal.
That's a good one.
Ethereal.
Ethereal, that's beautiful.
Creative.
That's beautiful. And if you could pick one Ravyn song that could describe where you are right now in life, which one would that be?
Blind.
Oh, that's a new one, but that's good. Which one?
Same. Love is blind.
Blind. I have a question for you. How did you discover Ravyn's music?
My friend Jacinda, who actually couldn't be here tonight, put me on to Ravyn. We used to work together, and we actually saw Ravyn in concert together, which was my first concert.
Oh, that's beautiful. Shout out to her. And if you could pick a Ravyn song to describe where you are right now in life, which one would that be?
Where I'm from.
That's my favorite one. With Mariba, taste. If you could describe Ravyn in one word, what would that be?
Whimsical, energetic, and full of life.
Those are beautiful descriptions. And what about you?
Ethereal, talented, beautiful, gorgeous, all the above.
I agree. I 100% agree. And what about you?
Word. Hot. She's hot.
And if any of you could pick a Ravyn song to describe where you are right now in life, what would that be?
Alive. Alive.
Oh, that's a good one. That's taste right there. I'm curious for the rest of you.
For me, I would have to say MIA. Yeah.
We've gotten a few MIA mentions here tonight. That's a popular choice for you too.
Speaking of collaborations, what is a dream collaboration for you?
Yeah. I love Doja Cat. I think she's so special in rejecting all rules.
Status quo.
Yeah, rejecting all rules, and there's something to be said about that. Love her. Love Tyler, the creator. Yeah, I would love to work with him. Frank, I think, is an incredible writer, generational artist.
Generational.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
Yeah,
Frank,
we all
please.
waited. Rihanna, I love. Who else? I love SZA.
I love SZA.
Yeah, that's my girl. I love her. Yeah, I guess
honestly,
that's
if
top of
Ravyn
mind.
Lenae SZA song,
I would die.
We'll go crazy. I could picture it in my head already.
Yeah, I would die.
Wow. Okay. I need to put that on a possible potential bucket list for me to listen to. Okay, so if you were stuck on an island, and you could only bring 3 albums with you, not including any of yours.
Okay.
And you were stuck on there for a month.
Yeah.
Which 3 albums did you bring?
Velvet Rope.
Janet Jackson.
Yeah. Keys in the Song of Life.
Stevie Wonder.
Yeah. One more. This is hard. Graduation.
Kanye?
Yeah.
That's a really good one.
Yeah.
Okay, those were pretty. I respect those picks. I think it says a lot about your taste. You have good taste.
Thank you.
I respect those taste. One interesting thing I read while I was doing the research for this interview is that you associate your albums with colors.
Yeah.
I forgot what you said was Hypnos.
Like blue, purple, yeah.
But for Bird's Eye, what color?
This one feels like more orange for me. I don't know why. Maybe it just feels
like a bright summer?
Like brighter. Yeah, I think brighter. I think like warmer. Yeah.
Does that even affect, because whenever people say that they have like levels of synesthesia, does that affect your creative process?
It's more of like an after the fact thing for me, where like I listen to something as a whole and I'm like, where does this take me?
What does it sound like?
Yeah.
Because I it's always so baffling whenever people say that. I'm like, okay. Do you just hear the colors like just
pop out of the air? Yeah.
Okay, I see. You've had a lot of great success, like as an artist, and I feel you're still like the sky is not even the limit. Really, you still have so much to achieve. Do you ever feel like you want that extreme like mainstream stardom, or are you just content with just like reaching whoever resonates with your music?
Yeah, that's something I've been asking myself, like defining success for myself, and it's obviously changing all the time. I mean, there is a part of me that desires global, success. I think there's something really special about having, I don't know,
people across the world.
Yeah, that are like moved by what you're doing. I think that's so special when that happens, and it's rare when it does. So there is a part of me that desires that. There's another part of me that thinks about how much my life would change, and that type of adjustment, and knowing that it's difficult, to go from like a certain lifestyle to like that being completely over. So that's why that's been like a constant thing I've been thinking about, like as of late.
But in this day and age, that could happen overnight.
You can't control it. Yeah.
It could just happen like.
Yeah.
Because I remember with Steve Lacy.
Yeah.
TikTok just like.
Yeah. Yeah.
And Gemini Rats was amazing. And he already had like, a group of people that loved his music and had success, notoriety. But something just happened that year
overnight.
That just like.
It's like pretty scary.
It is. I wonder how from an artist point of view, how that just feels really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember SZA also spoke about that.
Yeah.
With SOS.
And it's so interesting because that took 10 years for her, But then there's still an adjustment period where it's like, wait, my life.
Your life changes.
Yeah.
You can't go outside and walk on the street anymore.
She can't ever do it again.
Like, oh my God.
So something to think about.
It's true. How do you navigate social media? I always say that there's almost a balance between relating with your fan base.
Yeah.
Because fans are crazy these days. Relating with your fan base, but at the same time, not being too mysterious.
Right.
And I figured out, I've seen that you're someone that's been able to do that pretty well. Like you pop out, and then you pop back in sometimes. How is that is that something you think about a lot? Is that just effortless for you?
That was not on purpose. Okay. I'm very social media shy. But with this album, moving forward, it's something I've been like striving to get more comfortable with, because it is fun. Like at the end of the day, it is fun, to be able to connect with people and them like see themselves in you and relate to you. But me getting over that anxiety around it has been a challenge. But I've been posting more.
You have been posting more. Like every single day on Twitter. Like I saw you with Pink Panthers the other day.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay.
I'm trying, girl. I'm trying. But yeah, I think that's just another area like that is like a learning point for me. But yeah, I'm doing it my way. I'm doing it in a way that feels comfortable and feels like sustainable.
That's great. That's great. Speaking of that, you won the K Tronada album.
Yeah,
Amazing.
I'm so glad that song's out.
I just have to give you your props for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love K.
Honestly, I was wondering why you guys hadn't collaborated like a lot before this. So this just felt really natural. That was my favorite song on the album.
Oh, wow.
So.
I love that song. We've had that song for a while, so I'm glad it's seeing light.
Amazing. So now I feel like the goal of every good artist is to make the listener feel something. What do you want people to feel when they listen to Ravyn?
I want the listeners to feel like they know me. And like they see themselves in me, they see themselves in my story, they hear their influences in me. Yeah, I think that's the most beautiful part about being an artist and people connecting with you. So
I always wanted to ask you this because whenever people listen to your music, they always have like the influences. Like, oh, she sounds like Minnie Riperton.
Right, yeah.
Oh, like I hear some Chaka. And like, who are some of your biggest influences, you would say, personally?
I would definitely say I love Minnie. I love Denise Williams. I just think like that timbre voice is just so
beautiful.
Janet, Brandy. I would say vocally, those are the ones.
Yeah,
I love Nelly Furtado.
Okay, that's a very unique pick.
I love Nelly.
Yeah.
I just love those voices that when you hear it, you know exactly
who it is.
Yeah.
5 seconds in.
That's a generational voice to me.
You do have one of those voices.
Thank
I feel like I could sleep. I wake up and I'm like, that's Ravyn playing because it's a very unique tone.
Thank you.
I love it. When all is said and done, let's say 10 years from now, where do you see yourself?
I see myself still doing music, hopefully, you know, reaching people globally, massively. I also would love to start moving into like film space, specifically like children's, like Disney. And
that's
like
cool.
I would live for that.
Like voice acting or like
voice
actually?
acting. I think both. I would be open to both.
Cool.
Even like making original music, like soundtracks for movies and children's movies is something I'm really interested in. So that's a big goal of mine that hopefully comes to fruition.
Are there some films or soundtracks that are your favorites to listen to?
Let me think of what my favorites are. I love Pocahontas soundtrack. I love Sound of Music. That's like a classic.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic.
Princess and the Frog. I thought was really great.
So good.
Those are probably the main ones for me.
Wow, that's such a, I've never heard anyone like, that's such a unique
The songwriting is just always so good.
And I feel like that's a whole new audience.
It is. And like it's exercising a different part of your brain in a way. Like having a story already there and like having to enhance the story and make the story make sense with music. So that's something I really want to do.
So if you were called to play like a lead like a lead actor where you had to sing, you would love that.
I would love that. I would die.
Like Disney give you your own princess role.
That's
like,
dream.
Come feel that in.
That's dream.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, it was great speaking with you
so
today,
good to speak with you, babe.
Like,
thank you for having me.
You're an amazing person. I look forward to coming to that listening party tonight, hearing what you have for us, and hearing Bird's Eye when it comes out in a little while. So thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
And I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
All right.